On Wednesday, a bombing in Baghdad claimed at least 34 lives and left 72 more wounded outside of a popular restaurant. Violence in Iraq has increased drastically over recent weeks, and many are claiming that a betrayal of Sunni militia fighters on the part of the US and Iraqi governments is to blame. When violence in the country diminished over 2007, it was widely believed to be the result of an agreement between the US military and Sunni militia members, known as awakening councils, to fight together against al-Qaeda in Iraq. The US provided training, arms, and monthly salaries to the fighters, and as violence in the country subsided, the US promised the militia members that they would receive employment with the Iraqi security forces. We spoke to McClatchy correspondent Jack Dolan via broadband from Baghdad.
They've been getting constant reassurance from the U.S. military and from the sitting Iraqi government that, promised jobs were going to materialize, and for the most part they hadn't yet. There were 94,000 of these guys, the Sons of Iraq, on the U.S. payroll when they joined the U.S. forces to help fight al-Qaeda. So far, we're told by the military that 17,000 of them have been absorbed into the police and to the army. The rest, some 77,000, they say, will begin to be absorbed into other ministries sometime in July. But it could be a slow process. And they're talking about, ministries like culture and, youth services and, sort of outlying ministries. And one wonders what, these former insurgents and al-Qaeda hunters are going to do in the Ministry of Culture, but that's the plan. But the issue for the Sons of Iraq themselves is that they feel that they've been hearing the same promises over and over with very little result. And in the meantime, what keeps happening is certain of their leaders will get arrested by the government. And there was a deal on the table saying that they would have immunity for anything they did while working with the Americans. And there's some question about whether some of the leaders are being arrested for attacks carried out while they were on the U.S. payroll. And the other issue that they're having is there are reprisal killings by al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda is not gone by any stretch. And so I talked to two of these awakening leaders out in their provincial strongholds last week, and both of them had really harrowing stories and hard evidence of attempts on their lives. One guy had a car bomb go off in front of his house. It killed 18 people. Two of his bodyguards, they couldn't find any trace of them. They just disappeared and collapsed. So there's a growing sense of frustration among these guys that the jobs aren't coming through. They're not being absorbed into the power structure as promised, and they sort of feel as if they're being abandoned and sort of left out there on their own with targets on their backs. And then the natural concern is that they'll go back to their old ways and start fighting. And we've heard that from rank and file awakening members. None of the leaders have come right out and said it, but in every interview I've had with them, I've talked to probably half a dozen. There's always, they're oblique about it, but they suggest, if we can't find jobs in the government, we'll have to find other ways to make a living.
This tension comes at a key time for Iraq, as U.S. forces are committed, under the 2008 Status of Forces Agreement, to withdraw all troops from Iraqi cities by the end of June. But while violence increases in Baghdad and other areas of Awakening Council's strength, Dolan believes that the principal threat to the promised U.S. withdrawal lies to the north.
The possible extenuating circumstance to the June 30th pullout from cities most likely won't be the Sons of Iraq. It would probably be the city of Mosul, which has been really pretty violent. In the last week and a half, our bureau, our Iraqi staff members, we have streamers all over the country, and we get violence reports every day from them. And more than 2/3 of the bombings and the shootings and the killings that have happened just in the last, say, week and a half to 2 weeks have been in Mosul. And that's not lost on anybody. And the debate that I've heard since I've been here is the possibility, I'm just the possibility of U.S. troops staying inside of Mosul. That's sort of the flashpoint at the moment.
Donate today and receive a new documentary film available to members of the Real News Network. The History of the National Security State with legendary author Gore Vidal. Bonus features of the DVD include an in-depth response to Vidal from ex-CIA analyst Ray McGovern, who served under 7 U.S. presidents, an exclusive interview with Colin Powell's former Chief of Staff Larry Wilkerson, and an insightful interview with oil policy analyst Antonia Juhas.
The news magazine of the screen. Living glimpses of history in the making.
Hollywood and Washington, there's a symbiotic relationship. They both deal with illusions. Reality doesn't often play much of a part. I think I saw through the myth of the Cold War almost from the beginning. I was a Washington political kid from a political family. Roosevelt first had radio because he had this great speaking voice and everyone liked to hear. Truman proceeded to break every arrangement that Roosevelt had set up for a peaceful coexistence. And Truman thought that it would be a good idea. Why not just stay armed all the time? And then he devised the national security state. You've got to go up and swear allegiance to the United States or else you're a commie. I mean, we had imported fascism. We get Dwight Eisenhower, who said that we have this great military industrial complex. It is a dangerous thing. And he said this is going to change everything. And the way our country's governed is going to change us politically. Along comes Jack Kennedy, who wanted to make his mark, believed in the Cold War. But he said in this kind of politics, it is the appearance of things that matters. I think everybody should take a sober look at the world about us. The national security state still exists, only it isn't communism anymore, it's terrorism. This is the most serious thing that has happened in the history of the United States. Knowledge is power. We need an honest news system.
We need the real news.
This is the sort of thing we can build right now without anyone else's permission from the government or from the business community. It's the power's in our hands.
If we're not going to sleepwalk into more wars, we think we need to start with a television news network that won't bow to pressure and has the courage to seek facts. And that means independent economics. And that's why we need you.
Make a tax-deductible donation now of at least $10 a month or a one-time give of at least $75. As a thank you for your support, we will send you the new documentary film, The History of the National Security State.